Hi students! In this video, I'm going to show you how to create properly formatted in-text citations and make sure that they match up to your Works Cited page. So for this essay and all the other essays you write in this class, you're going to need to use quotations from the readings and maybe the videos that we watch to support the points that you make in your essay. So here today I'm going to show you how to integrate those quotations into your paragraphs, how to cite the quotation, and then how to make sure that the entry on your Works Cited page corresponds with the citation. So I'm sharing my screen with you so you can see what I'm talking about. So here you can see a rough draft of a paragraph that a student wrote for this happiness assignment. So here is the topic sentence, the very first sentence of the paragraph. And as you can see from this topic sentence, the topic of the paragraph is that money doesn't buy happiness. And in fact, as the paragraph's going to show, it can actually cause some problems that could make us unhappy. So let's just look at that topic sentence because it's important to understand the main idea of the paragraph. While the media and our culture often suggests that money will make us happy, the opposite seems to be true. Money often makes us less happy. So that's the writer's claim here. So this writer has written a paragraph that looks more closely at this topic. And as you can see from a quick scan of the paragraph, this writer has included some different quotations from the articles that she's read. And then some explanation of those quotations. So today I just want to focus on how the writer has integrated and cited the quotations. And I actually want to start with this third quotation first. So remember what you read last week about sandwiching quotations. Just like the reading said, this student is not letting the quote stand on its own. She knows that it's important to tell the reader where the quote came from, who said it, and that gives more credibility for the quote. So this writer has introduced this third quote to tell us where the quote came from. And this is her introduction of the quote. Graham Hill, the author of Living with Less, quickly learned that materialistic things didn't make him happy and argues that. So automatically, we can see at the beginning of the sentence who originally came up with this information. Graham Hill. She's attributing the quote to the author. And we can see the point that she's about to make about the quote, that he learned that materialistic things didn't make him happy, and then she leads right into that quote, which is, there isn't any indication that any of these things makes anyone happier. In fact, it seems the reverse may be true. Now, keep in mind that you could also introduce your quote with a simple signal phrase like, according to Graham Hill, or as Graham Hill says. But this person decided to give a little bit more information than that. So this quote is really good. It supports the topic sentence well. But the writer's not done yet. She knows that she has still a couple of really important things to do to finish up with the quote. So what's the next thing that the writer has to do after introducing the quote, giving the quote? The next thing the writer has to do is provide the in-text citation. So here's that in-text citation. Since we know who the author of the article is, the writer includes the name and the in-text citation, which is Hill, Graham Hill's last name. Now, as a side note, if there was a page number, the writer would also include the page number here in the citation. But since this is an article from a website, there is no page number, so the writer doesn't need to include one. So great, we have an introduction of the quote, we have the quote itself, put that in blue, and we have the citation. Is she done yet? Nope, there's more. So remember that, like the sandwiching quotation page said, a writer always needs to include some analysis or explanation of what the quote means or how it supports the main idea of the paragraph. So the introduction to the quote is the top slice of bread. The quote is kind of the meat or the veggies of the sandwich, and then that explanation is the bottom slice of the bread. You always need all three parts to have a complete quotation sandwich. So you can see this writer analyzes the quote by saying, he explains that after having it all, like the latest technology and multiple houses, he was very unhappy and noticed that all of his materialistic things made life more stressful for him. And this writer actually goes on to explain more, but I just couldn't fit all of that onto this one page for this example. And then you can see that the writer also includes some other references to the readings. So there's this one reference to Layard's book. And in this case, the writer kind of works the quote into the sentence. As you can see, the quote kind of comes at the end of the writer's sentence. There's the quote. Oops. And then this writer also has another reference to another text here, an article by Tim Kasser. And as you'll notice, the writer doesn't actually quote this one. She actually uses her own words. She paraphrases. But notice that each time, no matter how the writer quotes or if the writer quotes or paraphrases, she always includes that in-text citation at the end of the sentence. So every time you use information from another writer, another author, you need to cite it. So this paragraph is looking really good, but there's one other thing that the writer needs to do. Do you know what it is? So remember that since she's using information from sources, the writer is going to need to include a works cited page at the end of the essay to let her readers know where all the information comes from. So here's the works cited page. So in this class, you're going to use MLA format for your works cited page. This works cited page is in MLA format. And you know that in MLA format, there are many, many variations of citations based on what kind of source it is. Don't worry, you don't have to memorize all of them. Anytime you're writing a paper, a handy guide for looking up MLA questions is the MLA, the Purdue OWL site. And I've also placed this link on our Canvas page. So if you ever want to look up how to cite a source, you can just go to this MLA formatting and style guide on the Purdue OWL. And if you come over here to the left-hand side, you can see MLA Works Cited, electronic sources. That's what many of these sources are. You can scroll down and you can see an example of how to cite articles on the web. You can see an example of how to cite an article in an online journal. So this article that we were looking at first, or the citation we were looking at first, that Graham Hill citation, that is an article from an online journal. So this is what your citation looks like. This is how to cite an article from an online journal. So I want to leave you with one last piece of advice today. Notice that the in-text citation includes the author's name right here. Oops, I just moved it. Hill. Notice that when you go back to the Works Cited page, that Works Cited entry also starts with Hill. So your in-text citation, Hill, is the same as your beginning part of your Works Cited citation. You can see that the other ones are the same too. This top one here, we have layered. And if we go back to our Works Cited page, we have layered. And the same is true with the others. The in-text citation is going to match up exactly with the first word or words of the corresponding entry on the Works Cited page. This is so your reader can easily find information. So say I'm reading your essay and I think, wow, this quote's really interesting. I'd like to read the whole article. I can look at the in-text citation and then go to the Works Cited page and immediately find that article because the information in the citation matches up with the information on the Works Cited page. It makes it really easy for your reader to find articles and information that you use in your essay. So when you are creating your in-text citations and your Works Cited page, please make sure that they always match up. So now hopefully you know a little bit more about how and why to introduce quotations and how to create in-text citations and make sure they match up to your Works Cited page. Okay, thanks for watching this video.